And can you flip them on?
Yeah, let me just get the overlay.
Yeah. Hello guys, if anyone's watching, welcome to the first round of our Snakes and Lattes Winter Kit Tournament. It's 24 players, we're doing truncated 4 rounds for sake of brevity. You guys are good to go whenever you want. And today we have Terrence versus Dean. 1 second, we'll get an overlay set up. Sure. That's good. But I love Helvetica.
Helvetica has no place here.
Okay.
We're using Futura.
Oh god, so Futura. Bold?
Because we're in the future.
Yes, we are in the future. Yes, that's true. Okay, so we have Dean on the left playing Blue Sun versus Terrence playing Gabe here. Click 1, running with a fairy. It's a Lotus Field. He reses. Pretty good protection. Very hard to get through by Blue Sun. This is a tricky opening that is actually pretty bad against, for example, Leela Patel, because if they grab a raw agenda off the top of R&D, then they bounce the ice on HQ and then are vulnerable to Siphon. But against Gabe, it's perfectly fine. So Dean protecting his R&D for his second turn. Looks like he's got 4 credits up versus Terrence's 5. Both players have very nice tokens, hilariously enough. Could you actually put up an overlay on players, like this left?
So we can do anything.
Yes, we can do anything. Okay, so, yeah, player 1. Oh, not right now, actually. Let's do it afterwards. Because we're missing some hot Netrunner action. Okay, running R&D, flipping up something that's not an agenda, of course. Oh, and it looks like he contemplated crashing it, so it's probably something in the realm of a Jackson or an Ash, is my guess. Okay. One of the strongest elements of Criminal is being able to run pretty much naked. With a fairy up, you're more or less invincible, although that has changed with the advent of the new data pack. Merlin is in the game now, and that does net damage off of a code gate. Of course, Wall of Thorns did net damage off of a barrier, but since it's 8, hardly anyone played it. Blue Sun really popular tonight. It looks like we've got about 6 Blue Sun players. Versus about 5 NEH versus about 6 RP. Kind of surprised. Toronto meta, I would assume, is fairly exemplary of what's going on recently. Core players are having a lot of fun with the new tools made available to them over the lunar cycle. Dean getting 2 code gates up. Generally, a Crim player like Gabe, although I don't know the exact makeup of Terrence's deck, I would assume he would be running likely Gordian Blade, maybe Refractor, maybe just a Parasite Knight combination, although I believe Knight has fallen out of favor in the Gabe archetype. Dean starting to rumble on a remote. And of course, protecting his archives. He has got a face-down discard. I doubt it's an agenda, but it could be, knowing Dean is a very canny and savvy player. I would guess it's just to protect from Steam Door. Terrence getting Katie Jones up. Nice little money engine via hostage. It is click intensive, but it's one of the most reliable sources of income available in the game today. Of course, Blue Sun not without its ways to tag people, so if Terrence leaves it up for a prolonged period of time and Dean sets as a vulnerable moment, he could easily just blast it away before he's able to take the credits off of it. Classic Netrunner play. Dean getting his Jackson up and starting to draw. Not a good idea to leave Jackson up against any corp. Just one of the best cards in the game. Will allow you to just consistently be able to draw, get the cards you need in order to execute your game plan. Likely protecting with a cheapo barrier, something like a wall of ice, or ice wall, or a wall of static on the Jackson Howard. Dean discarding some more stuff into his archives, rezzing the ice on archives, which is a guard. Does he bust the fairy? Thinking about it. It's worth it. Like the most he can accomplish is being able to make his Jackson go away. Because if Dean has in fact thrown stuff, agendas into archives, he will. Oh, there we go, running the Jackson. Cool. All right, using the Jackson now. Good play on Terrence's part, getting rid of the problem at the source. Sorry to any viewers for the lack of overlay. It's we kind of scrambled to get this stream up and running in time. We'll have it for the next round, of course.
I don't put him anywhere yet. He's not posted yet. I don't have credits. You can actually let them know you can watch this. He just sits there being menacing.
Okay. Some Jackson shuffling going on.
They don't start hosting. You have to click the host. Second click might have been
No players haven't scored an agenda yet. We're about 4 turns into the game. I've got Angel My Tech Guy working on an overlay as we speak, which is great.
I need a name.
So on the left is Dien, D-I-E-N.
Credit marker. Like, he has any like 26 bad publicity tokens. That usually has the most.
Oh, a second Jackson in hand, eh? Pretty strong. Vanguard, nice. Good durez, making Dean pay $4 again. And busting the Jackson. Some good stuff. Dean is down 2 of his presumably 3 Jacksons, thereby cutting into a lot of his draw power. He's going to need to just play raw for the entire game. And he's in a bad way because he's kind of low on cash.
Second name.
Oh, Terrence. T-E-R-E-N-C.
That's not how you spell that.
That's not how you spell Terrence, yeah. Okay. Under Dean's name, could you write Blue Sun? And under Terrence's name, could you write Gabe? Oh, there
No. The ones on the page down. Silhouette ability to expose that.
This,
You can't leave Who's the draw with first?
First race one, right?
Terrence choosing to click. Grab some cash.
You lost it, like, I already have to. Okay. This side.
Putting out the Gordian Blade, thereby allowing him to get into most of Dean's servers pretty unmolested. There's at least $3 to get into his HQ, and 1 if he runs his R&D last click, which he has, looks like. Look like either a restructure or power shutdown.
Oh, fuck, yeah, I forgot my character. Doesn't matter.
Dean pulling back the guard in order to get $4.
Doesn't matter. I played mages.
Sitting there. Yeah. I wasn't trying to post it.
Yeah, no, it's my fault because I forgot what I said. Yeah, according to Star Share, so click 1, that's what I did. Click twice for credits.
Whatever, I did a great job.
That was a good one.
And I got
So I get that.
I forgot to grab my Bitcoin when you.
Oh yeah. Then I get my line. Okay, one. Does the source enable implementation?
You put this under your table. Looking good, getting an HQ access, seeing a Scorched, and playing more conservatively because of that, of course. We haven't seen an agenda yet, so it's likely he has probably one in hand, is my guess. Dian currently doesn't have... Oh, there it is. So he's pulling back Lotus Field and making 4. Terrence has 9. So it doesn't look like he can get Sea Scorched at this particular juncture.
Interesting language.
Although he knows that Dian has it in hand. Yep. Not dead yet. Yeah. Restructuring, installing, and keeping nice where it is. Last click. What is Dian up to? Strong position here because with his money advantage, there is no way that Terrence can make a good run without getting Sea Scorched immediately. He has to find a Plascrete, or is that a Crash Space? Yeah, even still, he needs to find a Plascrete or a Decoy in order to keep running with impunity.
Oh, 6, my bad.
Running RD, ooh, Fearless. Rising Guard, sure. Sorry, running HQ, my apologies.
Let's run on Jackson.
Interesting stuff. Car space. Installing. Getting the Archives nice and sealed against the Seekdor. Getting HQ nice and sealed against HQ Incursions. Prudent play against Gabriel Santiago. Dean's looking like he's playing the long game right now, which is fine because he didn't really tap too hard into his deck by the Jacksons. So he's got many turns to execute whatever his game plan is. However, that also gives Terrence turns to find his Plascrete Carapace, if need be. Okay, making an access here via Lotus Field, or Seekdor.
Actually, no. Let's.
If I was Terrence here, I'd probably check the archives just for fun. See what's going on.
Running it with Speaker.
As long as he keeps a full grip, he's fine. That Crash Space is saving his bacon, preventing Dean from pulling the trigger here. If he does in fact have a second Scorched in hand other than the one we saw. Moneying up pretty nicely. That's a ton of credits on Dean's end. Terrence running unscared of anything. Lotus Field upon Lotus Field. getting the money, grabbing an Atlas from hand, very nice. And we've got points on the board, guys. Could you tape the sides of where the borders should be for the thing? Can you get a sec?
Do you want to do that now, or do you want to wait until after this match is over?
Yeah, after this match.
You are entitled to know everything in your archive. I'm only entitled to know basic unless I obviously get to the time. That's everything.
Drawing card for his first click. Drawing card for his second click. Looked like his game plan might have evolved around popping Atlas with Crash Space. Very nice tech on his part, actually. It does allow him to keep maintaining pressure as long as he still has 5 cards in hand. This match is a pretty nice fight between new Netrunner in the Corp versus like an age-old, tried and true runner build in game. Nice tech in Crash Space, very, very helpful. Oh, nice, Eden Hades Shard. Really good stuff on Terrence's part. Terrence currently leading 5-2. Sorry, 5-0. Yeah, I really like the Crash Space tech actually. It does protect him not only against Wayland if he keeps a full grip, but also against NBN NBN Tag Storm decks, which are fairly popular in our meta.
I think again the archives relies a lot on HQ, especially if they're criminals with their HQ specific abilities.
Hello. Yes.
We're just getting trashed all the time.
Oh, yes, you're right. No. Because it's his turn, you would have to lose credits. Oh, sorry, it's because it's, you haven't been using cable? I don't know how many times you've, that the night out, and then you have to encounter it. Jump into
Sorry about that, guys. Had to fix up a ruling here. Not much has changed in the game. Looks to be about regular. The constant threat of Scorch looming over Terrence's head, but he doesn't mind. All he needs is one more agenda reasonably, unless it's a posted bounty or maybe a hostile takeover in order to win the game. Doesn't look like Dean has it in hand either. Although, based on the way he's playing, he just might. Although, this is actually fairly standard play against Gabe because, no, you don't want him to get into your HQ repeatedly. It's never a good thing. Broadcast going out to Calix Eminger. It's clicking for credits manually. At this point in the game, it's interesting. Maybe he has a strict game plan going on, getting enough money to res Curtain Wall, perhaps. Looks like 20 credits or something. On Dean's end? So hitting and making an Archives run, eh? Maybe a sneaker one, perhaps? Looks like a curtain wall's up. Yep, there it is. The requisite dollars to do so. He's not getting in there anytime soon.
did have to a few times for all this.
Caduceus on R&D. Force activation on the first piece of ice. I'm just getting rid of it altogether. That's nice. Terrence on the zone here. Strong, reliable play on the zone. How much of the soundtrack are you picking up? Ambient music?
It's a very good question. I'd have to plug in some headphones and find out. My guess would be an adequate amount, but not overpowering.
It's not overpowering. Good. Just like Axe Bunny spray.
Yes, yes.
Icing up HQ, yeah, sorry, icing up archives yet again. You might as well be icing up HQ. But installing 2 pieces of device this time. Perhaps it's a critical on HQ. Crash space. Oh, sure. Two value? Flatline or no? No. Okay, good. Thanks. Hi, Jack just reported.
But did he tell you what happened or no?
No, he didn't tell me what happened.
So, I've had this deck built for a really long time. So I was just helping Tony train for World.
Yeah, it was like Stealth Kit, right?
No. My nearest sub deck.
Okay.
It was just like, it's just there. I haven't even played it in like a week.
Okay, and?
So, one of my Astros
Yeah.
are an NBN making news identity
Oh my
card.
Okay, we'll overlook that for now.
Jack was okay with it,
Yeah.
but like, it's kind of bad.
It is kind of bad.
Yeah.
That's okay, don't worry about it. I can find you a making news card, or sorry, an Astro from my collection upstairs in a second.
And I can borrow it
Yeah, you
for
can
the
just
day.
borrow it for the day. No problem.
That's what I was hoping you were gonna
Yeah,
say.
no, you're all good. Okay. No problem.
Power shutdown.
Oh yeah, you guys
I'm gonna shut down.
So back to the
Oh yeah,
action
casino.
here.
I'll do casino. That's what we're gonna trash them tomorrow, right?
very slow. So, I mean, I'd rather
Dean with a oh yeah, it's a changeling. Nice, good piece of ice.
Yeah, it's always that funny. It's just that, yeah, I'm sure it's just that. And I thought just
Would it possible for you to pull up the Twitch chat on the screen here?
yeah.
Pulling back the Lotus Field on R&D.
I am not confident in performance.
Installing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, just really chopping it down?
Yeah,
That's fine.
Yeah. You could probably pull it up on Twitch. Oh, I have another iPad if you want.
That would be great. Because I just realized I had NRTM up and then it reset the timer when I tapped out of it. Yep. Oops. So I don't want to try that again. Terrence getting his Desperado out super late in the game. Funnily enough, it'll still probably make him money. despite the oversighted curtain wall, Terrence is actually making a pretty good showing on himself economics-wise. Dian, not without a little bit of finagling, can Dian get the score check?
Takes 3 damage, right?
Oh, he does have a face down upgrade on HQ. Blue Sun typically will have something like Ash, although it could definitely be Caprice Say. Gushin no Shin. Very nice. And putting it off the grid now. Super good. Uh-oh. Here comes time for Dean to execute his plan here. Although, Corroder, that would push him pretty low on cash in order to get into the archives in order to get rid of off the grid. And that is probably the only safe target given the face down upgrade in HQ. It could definitely be Crisium Grid as well. And in this case, because Dean is running off the grid, I would assume it is Crisium Grid. As soon as this chance, go for it. This seems like a pretty obvious trap to me. Knowing Dean is a player, like that's what I would guess. Although it might be that he's trying to get some points on the board, but in order to score a 3-pointer, unless it's something like priority requisition, resing a curtain wall, he will lose a bunch of subs on his hive, which will really increase Terrence's ability to enter his archives and thereby his HQ.
First of all,
this playmat is very nice. It's the Nationals Tori Hanzo playmats. Quite beautiful to look at. Very cyberpunk.
And you can put the Jackson. Jackson are always good against.
Sarcasm.
Any face-up cards?
No.
First clicks, he's running, and Dean reses curtain wall, thereby blocking Terrence from getting into HQ. Of course, against Blue Sun, just because there's 14 credits doesn't mean that they'll have it back at the beginning of their next turn. Second click running R&D. Not resing. Encountering Caduceus, spending 1 to break it, and taking a look at 1, and it's nothing consequential. Redrawing a card. Pick 4 money on Katie. Returning off the grid, nice, I like it. Scoring. Yeah. That's Eden Fragment? One second.
I did that. So that you can identify.
Third action, emergency shutdown your archer.
What just happened?
What happened?
I don't know. Oh, it's back. That was weird.
Clicking and accessing. It's pretty solid on Dean's end. It's going to be hard for Terrence to get in and score the remaining 2 points.
Okay, then I put a pop on the
Yeah, I know.
So I didn't know what you were playing.
Oh, very nice.
So I gained 1 credit, right? To make the run.
So there's a Crisium there.
Successful against the server. Oh, you're doing a sneak. 2 gauges?
Yeah, I know. I'm just so like.
Yeah, but the successful one against the server. Did you instead of being successful against the server? Because it's changed.
Oh, yeah, you just wait.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I made a mandible minor in that game.
So Dean using a Crisium, and Terrence seeing a Scorch and a Sea Source, among other stuff, in the archives.
Yeah, neither of us.
Looks like Dean's abandoned the Scorch plan and is now on the OT grid tip, off the grid tip.
Yeah, you just get like, I haven't played in so long. Yeah, I got tunnel.
Loading Katie.
It's just been so long. This time,
Dean pulling back a Hive in order
to be
to
honest,
get the 5.
this deck is no good shakes either, so.
5 credits. Installing an ice. Eden Fragment, of course, making his ice install costs non-existent.
Not really like playing too much until I get something. Yeah, I know Blue Sun is like the hottest right now, but I kind of want to wait and see what other options are available rather than just straight down
We'll start this up over the course of the next round.
It does. If you want it, your hands up. There.
Yeah. About 35 minutes.
Oh, that was only 10 minutes. That felt like
I know.
Yeah, it's I extended the round a little bit because we had to set up the stream thing. Yeah.
I know.
Which is actually good for you.
I know, but I couldn't help myself. I'm in a rush.
Yeah, those you are not.
Okay, nice.
Like
Can I actually see the top?
Nothing has changed. Chat is the same as it ever was.
Yeah, that was pretty clear. That's probably, I mean, a total of I thought you had 2. I'll still do it. This round again.
Oh, thank you.
Right.
So we've got a Fem on the wall. And of course, Dean pulls it back in the next turn.
Yeah.
And installs again. I don't know what the point of installing the Fem was then if he didn't capitalize on it.
I know that is.
I feel as if he should have trashed the Crisium when he got the successful access into the access into archives. So, the Crisium grid preventing him from sneak dooring actually, which is pretty nice because the run is neither successful nor unsuccessful into archives when using sneak door, which means that he's just stuck going into regular archives if he feels like it. It's curtain wall again, of course.
Yeah. Do I just play another one?
Sure, we'll play.
Yeah.
As a Lotus Field. Oh, deciding to get through. Given the composition of Dean's deck that we've seen already, he has a fairly decent chance of hitting another agenda off the top of R&D. So it might be worth it just to hammer that for a little bit. Although, getting it is a pretty expensive proposition considering that it costs 3 for the Lotus Field and 4 for the Caduceus, provided he doesn't mind, or if he doesn't want Dean to gain the cash. 3 bare minimum, so 6 total, and that's allowing Dean to get $3. Whoa. So, how did it go?
I won.
Okay. No flat lines?
Yeah.
Okay, flat lines.
How was strength? Yeah. I'm gonna.
Well, I eventually my game circle would have been powerful.
It's hitting a cycle, but of course, it being way too late in the game, it's never siphoned effectively.
Oh, right. Right. I should have thought of that as well. Yeah. I'm thinking of it like, you know, like, well, yeah, but like, all you got is a wraparound in front of it. Double army interface in front of me. Not really wants to press.
Inside jobbing into HQ, I like it. Next for the changeling, pays some requisite money. Guard, it's $1 to get past. And Ian resing a prison grid. That's fine. This turn's pay to get rid of it. He does. Or he doesn't. Accessing. Incredible. Nice. Off the grid is quite strong at this juncture. He doesn't have the money to sport, so Terrence can run a little more. This here. Scoring and Atlas with one advancement counter on it.
Right.
Nice. So Atlas has one agenda counter on it, letting DN search for pretty much whatever he wants.
So it was the final thing.
Do you have another camera?
You ever heard some guy?
I have a webcam.
Oh, okay. It would be nice to have one for like interviews if possible.
I'm actually a liar. I have a webcam. I don't have any open USB ports.
Oh yeah, you're ported on. Super ported on. No hub.
No hub. I mean, if it's happening between matches, I could just adjust the camera.
The score is 5-5 for me.
I mean, you could just lie on the table with the interviewees.
A very dreamy Richard Linklater interview. Anybody's game right now. The second DN draws another identity, he can just advance his off the grid final plan. Looks like this is going to be a by this time type turn though. Apart from the crack space, there's really no surprises coming out of this game though. That said, it still is one of the strongest, most consistent builds in the game. There's a gamble. Just a bit more cash on Katie, and it's up. Starting Desperado. This might be the turn where he goes for it.
One draw.
Pulling out a Mushin. Very nice.
here.
So this is similar to the Mushin Sun build that we saw out of nationals, actually.
Yeah, I guess we're in an archive just It's the empty one. Yeah, click 4, I will go.
About 15 minutes left in the road, guys.
15 minutes.
Oh, car.
Okay. You got to use Eve twice.
Yeah.
Yes, I think.
I like it.
Like, why not just run and trash it? Even if it's just turn to go. Click 2 alternate.
So there's about 15 minutes left in the round, actually. So I don't know if
How do you choose who to video?
whatever I deem most interesting as a match, probably the top. Hey,
Click 4.
of course, Trevor versus William.
Yeah.
What's the result?
Silhouette won on the Trevor side.
Sure. And on the corp side?
Yeah. You were doing blue side.
You won. Sorry.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
sorry, we just got one game to report.
Oh, okay. No, you report when you're done voting again.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, though.
Yeah.
Like, why not run the other way? Click 2 on
Okay, allowing the subroutine is tracing, allowing him to gain 3. Oh, nice. Okay, so it looks like Dean gets away his game. Yep. Scores Corporate War. And that's it. Very nice.
Just gonna run on that. Yep. Like that. Here you go.
Some nice stuff. Okay, so they're going to scramble to try to finish their next game. Hopefully they can get a couple minutes into it. However, Terrence is playing RP, which is going to be pretty difficult to win a game in that time span. Dean playing, could you change? So Dean is now playing Leela, as in the Futurama character.
I'll just click it.
Or is there an H on that?
No, that's perfect. And Terrence is playing Jinteki RP.
Okay.
Jinteki.
Yeah, look at this thing.
Perfect.
Fun draw. Two draw.
Did you meet up with Jackman?
I did.
Good.
Yeah, we talked about some internet.
Needs you for internet? Help internet.
I'm making him an internet.
Good. Freelance internet. Detective. Not a detective.
Thursday, I make internet.
Not a detective. So, Dean deciding to draw twice. Putting up unscheduled maintenance for his first thing played with this game.
You can draw. You can draw one.
Dropping in class grades.
Oh, but I can just cancel that fast as well. I was like, oh, I'm do that. So I'm going to do that. So that one. Yeah, that was click 3, right? Can't run past it. How many times? No, one. I will.
Terrence playing very slow and steady, of course. as you need to with Techie. And side jobbing HQ and pulling out Celebrity Gift. It's not feeding me either, too. Dropping Corroder.
Flag.
Oh, I'm not just almost not. He clicks to run on a second roll and then you have
Jackson.
you don't have a barrier break.
I wonder if he protects it for his last click. Oh, wow. Electing for the raw draw here.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, much more. Click one. Yeah, I'm really this with that.
Plus, really has 2 characters, right?
I like the extra memories. It's 40 next times. It's much easier. And then with the extra menu, I don't have to click 4.
Yeah.
So the early game is just a lot of game pressure. I thought it was good. It's pretty nice.
Celebrity Gift showing.
Yeah, because you can essentially like stick around and
Do you letting the Jackson go?
yeah. Yeah, I guess
Jared's getting the money he needs to execute at least part 1 of his game plan.
Both of mine. So
Name again, sorry.
Sean.
Sean, okay, got it. So did you flatline at all?
Nope.
Okay. Thank you.
That was click 2. Click 3, I will run on your
Okay. Nice. Wiping away the unscheduled with an ELP. Getting pretty good dollars. I wonder what he's currently up to. There's only about 15 minutes left in the round, so it remains to be seen whether or not Terrence can actually win in that time span. RP being a pretty notoriously slow deck. Lula Patel, one of the breakout stars of the last data pack. Prior to its release, everyone kind of dismissed her, didn't know what to do with her, that kind of thing. But she is a really good runner if luck falls on your side. For example, you run R&D, and the first thing you hit is an agenda, then you pull back the ice on HQ and just siphon with impunity. Against most corps, that's a pretty solid game plan, and very backbreaking. Most Leela builds play either Logos or Doppelganger, depending, although there hasn't really been a codified best deck or best build with her quite yet. Looks like a Hades Shard on DNZen. Ooh, debilitating. Nice. Insanely good. Insanely good. He's just full out nude here. Wow. That was great. Hitting a siphon. Insanely good play. Yeah. Terrence, of course, having dumped a bunch of agendas into archives in order to facilitate some quality Jackson drawing, and Dean letting him do it. Wow.
I click R on
Oh, refinery. It's money.
Damn it.
And it's back.
I love drawing cards. Yes!
the Sundew, but down 4 points now, and 2 pieces of ice. Gone. Wow, Ninja? We're truly in the Wild West here with the top. As he res the ice on HQ.
Fourth click,
Eight minutes left. He's in his quality corner here.
I'm in my cage.
The net cage.
The net cage.
Are you here tomorrow, or is it just today?
Just today.
I apologize for not being here to like poke.
So because this round has gone in time, if we get a feature match that actually finishes before time runs out, then we're going to have time to do some interviews, talk about some deck archetypes, that kind of business. Not for this one though, because the round is over in 8 minutes.
I actually have come to try and steal things from you, Dale. Assuming I can browse Dale?
Yes, go for it.
Okay. Thanks a lot. So I was going to get the cafes, and then it was just...
By tomorrow, yeah?
Yeah, what about tonight?
Perfect.
It's more overriders.
You're just waiting for
I had the C source in there. That was the big, like, 12 credit
As long Terrence has made a pretty good comeback fiscally. He's got about $19 up, 20 money, which will allow him to pretty much go and do whatever he pleases. He's got a server remote with 3 face-down cards in it and now 1 piece of ice protecting it, which means that it looks like he's about ready to score his first agenda of the game. Dean dropping a Percentus.
Oh my god!
At its best in Lilliput's out.
I was so agenda blocker. Now take your
No, you take that.
Oh, I'm so close to that.
Let's do some official reporting this time.
All right, what's the report from you guys?
Okay, so you got the silhouette round for the first one already.
Sure.
Second one, near Earth Hub versus silhouette and flatline.
Okay. So William won with Nero Hub in the flatline victory.
No, Trevor won.
Oh, Trevor won. Okay, got it. Thank you very much.
So 2 Trevor victories.
2 Trevor victories.
Thanks,
Thank you.
I want both.
You want both?
There was just make it for a while. Well, I gotta make room for
So, Terrence getting his Nisei mark. Angel, the stream is choppy. Do you think you can do anything about it?
Stream?
I have 2 dice.
Try switching Wi-Fi networks. Let's go ahead and drop the stream for
So, bear with us, guys. We're going to have a temporary interruption in the stream as we're going to switch Wi-Fi, and hopefully get a little bit less choppy here for you.
just ask him for it. Put an ice on it. Exactly. Yeah, that's. Well, no. Because the way that we
Terrence using his Nisei counter very quickly in order to prevent Ian from getting into the zone. Alright, got it. 1-1? No, sorry, run. Okay.
Wait,
My line?
that's wrong. No, you did. Two.
Yeah.
Oh, this is for best 305 series, right?
Yeah.
For one